All right, testing, testing. All right. All right, Part 375, Transportation, Household Goods, Interstate Commerce, Consumer Protection Regulations. Part A, General Requirements. 101, what must follow the regulation of this part? 103, what are the definitions for the term that used in this part? 105, what are the information collection requirements of this part? Subpart B, before officer for the customer liability consideration, what is the normal liability loss of damage except for the goods for the individual shipper? What action individual shippers may limit to reduce the normal liability? General responsibility 205, may I have agents 207, what items may be the advertisement 209, how must I handle complaints and inquiries? 211, must I have the arbitration program 213, what information will provide with the prospective individual shippers? Collection transportation charges. 215, how much I collect charges. 217, how much may I collect charges upon delivery. 219, may I extend credit to the shippers. 221, may I use a charge or credit card for planned payments. Subpart C, service options provided. What service options may I provide? 303, what is the service liability insurance cover? What must I do? Subpart D, estimating charges. 401, must I estimate the charges? 403, how much must I provide with binding estimate? 405, how much must I provide a non-binding estimate? 407, under what circumstances must I relinquish possession of the collecting on delivery, shipment, and transported on non-binding estimate? 409, many household good brokers provide estimates. Subpart E, picking up the shipment of the household goods before loading. What must I write? And must I write up an order service? Must I write up an inventory? Must I write up a bill landing? Weighing in the shipment. Must I determine the weight of the shipment? Must I determine the weight of the shipment? Must I determine the weight of the shipment? And must I use the alternative method of shipping weighing with 3,000 pounds or less? Must I give the individual shipper opportunity to observe weighing? May individual shipper waive his or her right to observe each weighing. 517, individual shipper to demand a reweighing. 519, must obtain the weighing tickets. 521, what must the individual shipper want to know actual way to charge the shipment before I tender the delivery? Subpart F, transportation shipment. 601, must I transport shipment in a timely manner? Must I tender the shipment for delivery? Must I notify the individual shipper of any service delays? Must I do if and I am able to tender shipment the final delivery more than 24 hours before the specific date? What must I do for the shipper who has stored household goods in transit? Subpart G, delivery of shipment. 701, may I provide release of liability with delivery receipt? What is the maximum collection of delivery amount that I may demand at the time of delivery? If a shipment is transported one or more vehicle, what charges may I collect at the delivery? If the shipment is partially lost or destroyed, what charges may I collect at the delivery? If the shipment is totally lost or destroyed, what charges may I collect at delivery? Subpart H, collection of charges. What type of charge is applied with Subpart H? How must I present my freight expense bill? And if I am forced to relinquish collect on delivery shipments before the payment of all charges, how do I collect the balance, and what actions may I take to collect the charges upon my freight bill? Subpart I, penalties. 901, what penalties do we impose violations of this part? All right, subpart A, general requirement 375, 101. Who must follow the regulation of this part? Household good motor carrier with the interstate with the transportation household goods must follow the regulation and part of the offering of the services with the individual shipper to the subject of the part only with the transport household good with the individual shipper to motor vehicles. The interstate commerce and interstate commerce defined in 395 of this chapter. 375, 103. What are the definition terms used within this part? The terms used within this part are defined with the terms of the regulation defined in Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 13102. Definition contained in the statute with the control of the term that used in part of the term of the neither defined in Title 49 U.S. Standard Code 13102. Terms have ordinary practice meaning with the such terms advertisement meaning with the communication to public connection with the other officer of the interstate household goods transportation services include writing electronic databases, listing with the name and address and telephone number, online databases, display with the internet web. They exclude listings of your name and address, telephone number, and telephone directory. Similar publication, however, the yellow books advertising is included in the definition. Cashier check means the check that has at least all four of the following characteristics drawn on the bank defined in Title 12 CFR 229.2. Signed in the officer of an employee with the bank on behalf of the bank of the drawer. A direct obligation of the bank to provide with the customer of the bank and acquire with the bank of the remittance of purposes. Certified scale. It means any scale with the inspector certified with the authorized inspector the license authority of the design weighing motor vehicle with included trailers and semi-trailers not attached with the tractor designed with the platform warehouse of a typical scale. Commercial shipper means any person in the name of the consignee with the bill of landing contract with the name of the owner of the goods of the transport who assumed the responsibility payment of the transportation of other transit tariff charge with the account of the beneficial owner of the goods. Beneficial owner of the goods is normally an employee with the consignor of the consignee with the freight with the tendering the shipment to of the carrier furtherance of the forward operation. Also commercial shipper. The federal government is in the government bill of landing shipper, not as commercial shipper. Force majeure means a defense protecting party within an event with the part with the contract contractual contact performed due to the cause of the outside of the control parties could not be avoided with exercise due care. Or your government bill of landing shipper means of the person who the property transported under the term of the condition of the government bill of landing issued by the department, agency, federal government with the care of the responsible transportation of the ship. Household goods in connection with the transportation mean with the personal effects of the property used or equipped, usually to be used in dwellings when part of the equipment is supplied with the dwelling. Transportation of household goods must be arranged and paid for individual shipment done by the individual behalf of the ship of the household goods, include the property moved with the factory store with the purchase with the intent that you with the dwelling, the transported request, householder used to pay of the transportation charges, household good motor carrier, general motor carrier in ordinary courses of business for the providing transportation of household goods, offer some of the all the following additional services, binding of the non-binding estimates for the inventory to protective packing, unpacking, individual terms of the personal residence, loading and unloading personal residence. The term includes the person considered the household goods motor carrier regulation determination decision federal motor carrier safety administration effective the day of the enactment of the household good move oversight of the enactment reform 2005. The term does not include any of the motor carrier providing transportation of household goods contained with the trailer and entirely loaded, unloaded, and by individual other than employee agent of the motor carrier. The term does not include any of the motor carrier of the act service of the delivery furniture, appliance, the other furnitures between the factory store of the individual household. Individual shipper to mean the person who the shipper the consignee with the consignee with the household goods ship the identify the shipper with the consignee with the consignor face of the bill of landing owes the goods by the transported and pays his or her tariff for the transportation charges. May means an option you do something but it's not a requirement. Must means a legal obligation you must do. Order of service means for the document authorizing for the transport of the individual shipper's household goods. Reasonable dispatch means for the person performing the transportation over the day for the during the period of the agreed upon which the individual shipper shown in the order of the service bill of landing. For example, if they deliberately withhold the shipper delivery of the individual shipper of the offer to pay the binding estimate of the 110% of the non-binding estimate, you have not transported for the goods. Reasonable dispatch. The term reasonable dispatch excludes the transportation provided under your tariff provisions regarding requiring guaranteed service date that you will have the defense of the force majeure of the superior, the irresistible force is constructed by the courts. Should you meet the recommended to do something if it is not requirements of the Transportation Board means the agency, Department of Transportation, Service of Transportation regulates the household goods tariff is among the responsibility. A tariff means the issuance or hold of the in part of the continuing rates, the rules, regulations, classification of the provisions related to the motor carrier of the transportation service. The service of transportation requires a tariff contains specific items of the 13.12.2 A of the title of the specific items that include the accurate description of the services offered to the public and the specifically applicable rates for the base of the calculation. Specifically applicable the rates. Service term of the term must be arranged in the way that allow for the determination of the exact rate of the service the terms are applicable to the given shipment. We, us, and our means the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. You and your means the household good carrier engaged in the interstate transportation hold the goods and the household agents. 375. What are the information collection requirements of this part? The information collection requirement of the part requires review of the Office of Management budget pursuant to the Paperwork Reduction 1995 has been assigned with the Office of Management Budget Control number 221-260-0025. Information collection requirements are found in the following: 375, 205, 207, 209, 211, 213, 215, 217, 303, 401, 403, 405, 409, 501, 503, 505, 507, 515, 519, 521, 605, 607, 699, and 803, 803, 805, 807. Subpart B, before offering services to my customers, liability consideration. What are the normal liability loss of damage of the what I accept the good of the individual shipper? In general, legal liability loss of damage happens during the performance of any of the transportation household goods related to services and of the law of the bill of the landing of the full value of the protection obligation. Generally, liability household goods or loss of damage destroyed otherwise not deliverable to a final destination in an amount equal to the replacement value of the household good with the maximum amount of the declared value of the shipment. The declared value of the subject rule for the service of the Transportation Board applicable tariffs. If the shipper values waived the writing of liability, the full value of the household goods, the liable loss for the damage to the household good, to the extent to provide with the Service of the Transportation Board relief of the rates ordered. Contact Service of the Transportation Board. Current copy of the release rates of the motor carrier shippers for the household good. The rate may increase for the annually for the U motor carrier based on the U.S. Department of Commerce collection cost of living adjustment. As required in 375 303C5, 5 made additional liability if the liability insurance failed to issue the copy of the issuance policy with the appropriate evidence for the evidence of insurance. You must clearly, concisely disclose the individual shipper's limits of your liability. 375-203. What are the actions individual shipper limited to reduce my normal liability? Individual shippers include the perishable damage of the hazard or article of the shipment without your knowledge. You need to assume the liability of the article of the loss of the damage caused by the inclusion of the shipment. The shipper requests that you accept the article of the transportation. You may elect to limit the liability any loss of the damage appropriately published in tariff of the provision. The individual shipper to agree with the ship of the household goods, the release of the value greater than 60 cents per pound per article. Your liability, loss, and damage may be limited to $100 per pound per article. The individual shipper feels notified with writing in an article's value that more than $100 per pound. An individual shipper notification writing article's value that greater than $100 per pound shall include the shipper with the shipper would entitle to the full recovery of the declared value articles and articles not to exceed the declared value of the entire shipment. General responsibility 375-205. May I have agents? You may have agents provided to comply with the paragraph A and B and C with the section household goods are defined in either one of the following two types of agents. A prime agent is provided with the transportation services of your behalf, including the selling of the arranging of the transportation services. The permanent require the agent to provide services under the terms of the agreement. You, the prime agent, does not provide services with the emergency temporary basis. The primary agent does not include the household good of the broker, the freight forward. An emergency temporary agent to provide the origin destination service on behalf, excluding the selling of the arranging of the transportation service. The permanent and required the agent provides such services if the term of the agreement, the arrangement with the agent performs the services only on an emergency and temporary basis. If you have an agent who must have the written agreements between you and your prime agent, you and your retained prime agent must be sign agreements. A copy of all the prime agent agreements must be in files period of at least 24 months from the day of the termination of the agreement. All right, 375-207. What items must be in the advertisement? What items must be in my advertisement? Usually, you and your agents must publish use only truthful, straightforward, honest advertisement. You must include. You must require each of your agents to include all the advertisements, all services, including accessorial services incidental to the part interstate household good transportation, following two elements: your name and the trade name, and they appear with the document assigning with the U.S. dot number, the name and the trade name of the motor carrier under whose operating authority to advertise the service to the originate with your U.S. dot number signed with the authorizing to operate with for hire motor carrier transportation household goods. For the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, assigned U.S. dot number must be displayed only on the following form of the every advertisement U.S. dot assigned number. 375-209. How must I handle the complaints and inquiries? You must establish and maintain procedure responding to complaints and inquiries for the individual shipper. The procedure will include all three of the following items: the communication system allowing individual shipper to communicate with the principal place of the business for the telephone, a telephone number, to written electric record system recording all inquiries, complaints received the individual shipper. The means for the communication. You must produce a clear, concise, written description of the procedure for distribution of the individual shipper. 375-211. Must I have an arbitration program? You must have an arbitration program that the individual shipper to resolve the dispute with the probability less than loss and damages than a dispute with whether the carrier charges in addition to those collected every day and to the delivery must be paid. You must establish and maintain an arbitration program for the following 11 minimum elements. You must design the arbitration program prevented having the special advantage indicated whether the claimant resides or does not play business the place of the distant with the principal and another place of the business. Before executing the order shipper, you must know if the individual shipper availability of the neutral arbitration include all three of the following items. 1. A summary of the arbitration procedure, applicable cost, the disclosure of the legal effect of the election of the arbitrator to use the arbitration. 3. Upon an individual shipper to the request, provide information on forms of the you're considering necessary initiation action resolve the dispute with the arbitration. You must require each of the person authorized to attribute via the independent parties of the dispute with the capability of resolving such disputes. You must ensure the arbitrator authorized to obtain to be able to obtain with the individual shipper any material relevant information carry out the fair of the expeditious decision processing. You must not change the individual shipper to more than one half the total cost of the instituting of the arbitrator proceeding against you. If the arbitrator's decision may determine the party must pay the cost of the portion of the cost of the arbitrating proceeding, including the cost of the instituting of the proceeding. You must refrain from requiring the individual shipper to agree with the arbitration before the dispute arises. The arbitration must be binding for claims of $10,000 or less. If the individual shipper requests the arbitration must be binding for claims more than $10,000 for individual shipper requesting the arbitration carrier agrees to it. If all the parties agree with the arbitration provided with the oral presentation, dispute and party representative of the party, the attributor must render at least the decision within 60 days of the receipt of the notification of the dispute. The decision arbitrator may include any remedies appropriate under the circumstances. 11. Arbitrator may extend the 60-day period with a reasonable period if and you and the individual shipper fail to provide the timely manner information of the arbitrator reasonably requires to resolve the dispute. You must produce a distributed, concise, easy to read, accurate summary of your arbitration program and include the items of the section. All right, 375, 213, and what information provided by the prospective individual? Provide a written estimate of the prospective individual shipment. You must also provide the individual shipment with a copy of the Department of Transportation publication at Federal Medicare Safety Administration, ESA 03005, the successful publication ready to move, and the successful interstate move. You provide the individual shipper with a paper with a copy. Provide the hyperlink for the internet website of the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration for the containing the information Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration public ready to move. Tip successful interstate move. Before you execute the order of the shipper for the household, you must furnish for the prospective individual shipper all following documents. The contents Appendix A of the written title with your rights for the responsibility when you move. The Department of Transportation publication for, and if the in successful publications you provide the individual shipper with a paper copy to provide with a hyperlink for the internet website with the FMCSA website containing information of the FMCSA rights and responsibility when you move. A concise, easy to read, accurate estimate of your charge that note available to the applicable section of your tariff. The estimate of the charge that include the explanation. Individual shipper may examine the tariff section and have a copy to them, and upon request, a concise, easy to read, accurate summary of the arbitration program. Concise, easy to read, accurate summary of the customer complaint inquiry handling procedures, including the description must be in both of the following two items: the main telephone number of the individual shipper you to communicate with a clear, concise statement concerning who must pay the telephone calls. And to comply with the paragraph B1 of this section, must ensure the text in general order of the documents produced to distribute the protective of the individual shipper. If consistent with the text in general of the order of Appendix A, with this part of the following three items apply. If you have the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, should modify the text general order of the Appendix A, will provide public and appropriate notice of the Federal Register, and an opportunity to comment with the required Part 389 of the chapter before having you change anything. If you publish a document, you may choose the dimension of the publication as long as the type of the fonts 10 points or larger. Side of the booklet is at least as large as 36 square inches. If you publish the document, may choose the color design of the font of the front and back cover of the publication following the words may appear with the prominently with the front of the cover 12-point large, bold, full-face type of the rights of the responsibility. When you move the furniture with your mover and you require federal law, you may substitute your name and the trade name for your mover and your wish. For example, the furniture by the XYV vans as required with the federal law. Paragraph C2 and C3 expanded do not apply with the exact copy of the Appendix A of the published in Federal Register of the copy of the Federal Regulation, FCMSA website. Individual shippers will elect with the physical report of the Federal Consumer Protection Information, one of the methods described in paragraph A, B1, the section of the elect the access the same information via the hyperlink internet provided with the paragraph A and B1 of the section must include the clear and the concise statement of the written estimate described in 375-401 that the individual shipper expressly agreed with the access of the Federal Consumer Protection Information on the internet. You must obtain the signed date of the electronic paper receipt showing individual shipper the receipt of the both of the booklets includes Apple the verification shipper agreement with the access of the Federal Consumer Protection Information of the internet. You must maintain with the sign of the receipt required with the paragraph E2 of the section with the 1 year of the day of the individual shipper. Sign of the receipt that you may not require to maintain the signed receipt with which does not have the actual transport household goods or perform related services with the individual shipper to sign the receipt. 375-215. How must I collect charges? You must issue the collecting transportation and charges. 375-215. How must I collect charges? You must issue an honest, truthful freight with the expense bill with the corner of the subpart A with the part 373 with the charge chapter also rate with the charges of the transportation-related services must be in accordance with appropriate published share of provisions in effect, including method of payment. All right, 375-217. How must I collect the charges upon delivery? You must specify the form of the payment with the prepare of the estimate. You and your agents may honor the form of the payment that delivered, except the shipper to agree with the chain of the writing. You must specify the chain of the payment to provide with the paragraph A with the section to prepare with the order of service, the bill of landing, charge with the credit card or payments. If you agree with you, accept the pay of the charge for the credit or credit card, you must arrange with the individual shipper the delivery only on time when you can obtain the authorization shipping of the credit card transaction. Paragraph C1 of the section does not apply to you when you have the equip of the motor vehicle to process card transaction. You must maintain tariff settings with the non-discriminating rules of governing the collecting on delivery services, collecting on and collection of collecting on delivery funds. If an individual shipper pays at least 110% of the approximate cost for the non-binding estimate on a collection on delivery shipment, you must relinquish the possession of the shipment at the time of delivery. 379-219. May I extend the credit? May I extend the credit to shipper? You may extend credit to the shipper, but if you do, it must be in accordance with the 375-807. 375-221. May I use the credit charge the credit with the card and plan to claim credit card plan for payments? All right, you may provide your tariff with acceptance for the charge for the credit with the car for the payment with the freight charge with the for the charge for the credit with the payments are different with extend with the credit shippers with the 375-219, 375-807. Once you provide the estimate, you are bound with the provision tariff regarding the payment as of the estimated date upon completion of the transaction resolved of the estimated unless otherwise agreed with the shipper under 375-278A. You may accept the charge for the credit with whenever the shipment of the transport with around the arrangements tariff the requiring payment of the cash of the certified check money order of the cashier check. If you allow the individual shipper to pay with the freight with the expense of all bill with the charge of the recorded record credit card with the deeming of such payment the same with the payment of the die-cast certified check with money with the order and cashier check. The charge and credit card plan for the participant must be identified with the tariff rules items permitting the acceptance for the charge and credit cards. An individual shipper to call with the charge and credit issuers the reverse charge transaction must consider the individual shipper's action tantamount forcing you to provide involuntary extension of your credit. In such instances, rules of 375-807 apply. Subpart C, service options provided. All right, 375-301. What services may I provide? You may design your household goods service to provide individual shippers with a wide range of specialized service pricing features. Main carrier provide at least of the following five services options: space reservation, expedited service exclusive use of the vehicle, guaranteed service on and between the agreed dates, liability insurance. If you sell liability insurance, you must follow the requirements of 375-303. All right, so 375-303. I sell liability. If I sell liability coverage, you must do. You and your employee, the agent, may sell and or offer to sell the procure liability insurance of the loss and damage shipment of an individual shipper only with the individual shipper. Release the shipment of the transportation with the value not exceeding 60 cents per pound per article. You may offer sell the procure with any type of the insurance policy on the behalf of the individual shipper with conversing with the damage of the excess of the specified carrier liability. If you sell with a order to procure liability insurance coverage to allow for the damage of shipments, you must issue the individual shipper the policy with the appropriate evidence of the insurance of the individual shipper to purchase. You must provide the copy of the policy of the appropriate evidence of the individual shipper at the time of the sale of the procure of the insurance. You must issue with the policy written with in plain English. You must clarify the specify the nature of the extent of the coverage under the policy. You fail to issue the policy other appropriate evidence for the insurance purchase of the individual shipper will subject the full liability of the claims and recover loss of the damages attributed to you. All right. You must avoid any provide your tariff with the provision selling offer with the sale with the procuring liability insurance coverage of the tariff must also provide the basic transportation charges, including your assumption of full liability value of the shipment and the would be in the event that you fail to issue the policy of the appropriate evidence for the insurance of the individual shipper at the time of the purchase. All right. Subpart D, estimating charges. I'm going to cut the tape right there.